Hi, today's Tuesday technique video is about sewing machine needles. Sewing machine needle has a couple of components to it. All of the ones that we're using in our domestic sewing machines have a flat back, which goes to the back when you're putting it into the machine. There is a groove along the needle, and then there is the point or the tip, which varies. The shape and the size will vary for different purposes. So for example, if I'm sewing on regular woven fabrics, I might be using a universal size 80 needle, which is a needle that has a slightly rounded tip to it. If I'm working in knits, I might move to a ballpoint needle, which has a very rounded point to it so it doesn't snag the knits. People that are striving to get a really perfect straight stitch on woven fabrics might opt for something like a Microtex or a jeans needle. And if I'm a quilter and I'm sewing on cotton fabrics, which are not very heavy, I can use the needle, the Microtex or the sharp needle, in a size 70 or 80, and that's going to give me a nice crisp stitch on those type of fabrics. There are leather needles, there are stretch needles for Lycra. To understand all about needles, we have a little brochure that's put out by Schmetz, and if you have needles that are purchased recently, they've gone to a color coding system, so the shank of every needle has two colors. And one color is going to tell you the type of needle, such as ballpoint or universal, and the other color is going to reference the size. So no more having to look with a magnifying glass at the shank to try to read what's etched on the needle. The color coding will explain to you with a little chart here what needle you have. When you are troubleshooting on your machine, if you call me or email me and say that you're having problems with stitches, I can guarantee you one of the first questions I'm going to ask you is what kind of needle you are using. That's our first troubleshooting checkpoint, because once the needle gets a little bit of a burr on it or it wears down the point, it'll affect the stitch quality. I like to keep my needles, when I troubleshoot, my needles are stored. I use a little accessory thing where I've actually labeled so I can tell at a glance what needles I'm out of. I keep only brand new needles in the package. So if I go to troubleshoot and I'm going to get a new needle out, I know that anything in this package is brand new. If I do a project that doesn't involve a lot of sewing, like let's say I hem a pair of jeans, I might put a size 16 jeans needle in my machine for one pair of pants. When I'm done, that needle still could be reused, so when I take it out of the machine, I'm going to put it in the compartment, but not back in the package, because the package always has to be a brand new needle. On the machines with a color touchscreen, you have a pretty cool feature it's a needle minder. There's an icon with the eye of a needle, and when you touch it, this is the screen that you go into if you're putting a double needle in, or if you're putting on a straight stitch plate or a 5mm plate. But there is another icon up here in the corner with a needle with a little ribbon around it, a bow around it. And when you touch that, you can go in and tell the machine what kind of needle and what size. So as you scroll up and down, there are, this one has pages, I'm sorry. On some of the models you scroll. So for example, if I've put on a leather needle in a size 80, there's a little white box that comes up around those choices. When I close out of there, I can do my project. I can turn the machine off and come back at a later time and go back into that icon. In case I don't remember what needle I had put in, I can touch that icon and look to see which boxes are selected. If you would like to get a copy of the Schmetz needle guide, you can send me an email at info@pinsandneedlesny.com with your address, and I'll pop one in the mail to you. Thanks.